Hello and welcome to AskMamaAmy, a podcast promoting practical advice and resources for strong mothers. I'm your host, Amy Hsaio, single mom and estate planning attorney and founder of Hsaio Law. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited that we have three amazing women with us today, and I'm so happy to be interviewing them. So we have three midwives from Tourmaline. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and let you know what they do. Okay, go ahead.
I'm Josie, and I am a licensed midwife and owner of Tourmaline. The titles are all going to match. I'm Maral, another one of the owners of Midwives of Tourmaline.
And I'm Allison, and I'm a licensed midwife and a mother of four. Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you. I'm so excited. Well, first off, my biggest question is, we have three amazing women here. How did you come together? What was the reason that you got together and start this Tourmaline business of midwifery? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, we all had encounters with each other in different capacities while we were like midwifery students and just working in the community. It is a really tight-knit community, so you do get to know each other really well. Allison and I were in the same midwifery cohort together. Josie went to the same school. She was a couple of years ahead of us, but we got to work together kind of in different settings at a couple of the other facilities in San Diego. And we just knew that we had a kind of a different vision for a different type of birth center that we wanted both for ourselves and for our community. So we have this similar goal of we want something really sustainable for the midwifery team and something that can really serve the community long-term and through multiple avenues of connecting people, providing really awesome midwifery care. So it just kind of came about very organically. Allison really spearheaded the project. She's our like, we're going to do this and we're going to do it well. She's our motivator. So she kind of got the team together and it just made sense. We started the journey.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I know. Like, this is such an important topic to me when I just flash back to when I had my firstborn and that whole journey of like hypnobirthing and embracing my body and all that. So I'm so curious. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your own journey as a mom and your own experiences and how that relates to what you do now? Starting with Allison, okay. Since you're the spearheaded one. Yeah,
go ahead.
As far as like leading me to midwifery, I have 4 kids, as I mentioned. 3 of them were born in hospital. Pretty traditional how I think most people experience. They were fine. Like I would say that I enjoyed my births. My last one was, I had an epidural that went really wrong. So I was sick for about 3 weeks to a month.
Oh gosh.
Really terrible headache where the fluid comes out of your spine and you can't get it up for a long time. So when I got pregnant with the 4th, I knew that I would not let anyone ever touch my spine again because it was so terrible. And I started researching other alternatives, like how or where I could give birth. So it really wasn't on my radar. That was not my culture. That's not how my mom gave birth out of hospital. So this was very new to me. Mm-hmm. And I just reached out to the community, went to every class I could think of. I hired a doula, which I don't think I'd ever heard of before until my 4th. It was weird. I didn't know what a doula was. And I didn't know what the difference between a midwife and a doula was, which is something we hear all the time. And I ended up giving birth at a local birth center here in San Diego and had an amazing experience. Could not believe what my doula did for me, how long she was there, the effort, her knowledge, how loving she was, and how beautiful my experience was and how different. Like I thought my other births were great, but this was my husband being from Brazil where you don't really see vaginal birth, especially out of hospital very often. He was amazed that I gave birth in water and how peaceful it was. Our family was in there. My older kids attended and we just had a really beautiful experience. So it led me, I'm like, I want to be a doula. And then I wanted to open a birth center that just needs to help my personality. So my dream.
As you're talking about it, I'm just imagining the beauty of it. You know, everybody, next to you, embracing it. That's just so amazing.
Oh, I had 7. We don't recommend this for everyone, but I had this my 4th baby, first of all, and I needed my husband was behind me in bathtub. My doula was doing pressure points on my feet. Someone was doing them on my hands, and someone was fanning me. I had a lot of very high maintenance person. And my kids were in the other room. They had a suite, so there was another area so my older kids could be there cringing, listening to the sounds I was making. And then they came in afterwards. So it was really beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What an amazing story. What about Maral?
Yeah, I don't have any kids. So I just kind of came to midwifery really from like a kind of social scientific background. I have a degree in anthropology and a degree in gender and sexuality studies. And through my work in that avenue, I was able to see how difficult Western medicine can be on like anybody who's not a cis-white male. And so I really wanted to explore how to support everybody and women and non-binary people in a different way, especially around birth, because it's by definition not a medical procedure.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just like doing research and finding information on what is the safest options for, healthy people. That's kind of what brought me to midwifery. And so I'm really dedicated to this as like the safest option, actually.
Yeah. It's weird because like modern medical world makes us think that we have to go to the hospital. Like that's the only way, but apparently not. What about Allison?
Well, me. So Josie.
I'm sorry. I got this reverse.
No worries. So
Josie.
I'm also a mother of 4 as well. And I was actually in kind of a pre-nursing program when I became pregnant with my first daughter, and really had always known that I wanted to have a natural birth. And had also been always fascinated by birth and pregnancy and babies and like just female reproductive organs and the whole process, cycles, everything. And so when I was on my nursing path, I thought, I'll be a labor and delivery nurse because it just fascinated me. And then after giving birth in the hospital with my first daughter, I realized that the hospital wasn't really set up to give individualized care or even to like share in the goal of what that family is working towards. I had to really fight for a natural vaginal birth. And, later I realized more and more that I didn't have any complications. I was a very healthy, normal pregnancy, and I still was threatened with things like cesarean. And so after giving birth, which was the most beautiful, empowering, transformative thing I've ever encountered. I can't wait for Maral to do it. I beg her for a baby all the time. I just knew that I wanted to still support women and families giving birth, but I wanted to do it on their terms and not within, the confinement of protocols and regulations that aren't really governed on individualized care, or even on safety, like Maral said. Oftentimes what happens in the hospital is not actually the safest for care for that individualized person. But anyways, so that's kind of my journey. And then I had my second baby in a local birth center as well, the same one that Allison birthed in. And then my last 2 babes were born at home, which was really lovely with all my other kids there. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. So,
Wow.
So yeah.
That is just amazing. I love stories like these. So, well, the big question, what is the difference between the doula and midwives? Since Allison mentioned it, might as well get it out.
Yeah, I love it. I think the more information we can get out about that, the better. So both are a part of an individual's birth team. Doulas are going to be more focused on like the non-medical needs of the birthing person. So physical support, emotional support. They meet with the client in advance of them giving birth to get to know them. What are their goals? What are their desires? And they're absolutely vital to the birth process. And then midwives, our responsibility are the medical components of the prenatal care, birth, and postpartum. So we're a person's primary care provider throughout their pregnancy, And then, of course, during the birth, and then we do a super extended postpartum plan with our clients. We see them up to the 3-month mark, and they have 24/7 access to us. And so we're there for if medical intervention is needed. And of course, we do all of the other stuff too. There are times where we step in and hold a hand and reassure or press on a back, but having the doula as a part of the team too means you're going to have both of your needs met all the time, right? So a doula is going to be there to provide that counter pressure or guide you or just make you feel more comfortable. And then if we need to step in a situation that needs more medical assistance, then we're like ready to go and able to do that. So that's kind of the big difference. Doulas don't really provide medical care versus midwives. That's our main priority.
We're licensed medical providers.
We're licensed by the medical board. So we're licensed by the same board that
So in your practice, like at what time point do you find people usually come to see you, or what would you recommend the best time to come and see you?
Well, the best time to see us is as soon as possible because preconception. Yeah, why not? Why not start building, a good foundation with your care provider and also getting really good ideas to set you up for the healthiest pregnancy possible. A lot of nutritional support. We talk about supplements, lifestyle, stressors. But oftentimes I'd say people usually come to us in the second trimester when they find out that they're kind of dissatisfied with their care provider, or, they hear about what, a water birth is, or they're doing more research and they're like, we really want a natural, unmedicated, supportive.
So you have a whole team from preconception to provide those nutritional needs and recommendations from the beginning, and then all the way to 3 months after, correct? Do you have different providers that you work with to be able to put this together, and then you're the main person making all those prescriptions or things like that?
Go ahead.
So as the midwives, as the 4 midwives that are here, we do a lot of the preconception and prenatal birth and postpartum care. In some situations, if there are things that need more than we can give, then we're going to refer to other providers that work with us here at Tourmaline. So we have an amazing group of wellness providers. We have an awesome naturopathic doctor, pelvic floor therapist, holistic psychotherapist, acupuncturist, and fun things too, like massage, facials, things like that. Nutritionist. So if things are going out of our scope, or there's something that we're like, ooh, this client's going to need a lot more like supervision and guidance beyond what our education level is at on that specific topic, then we'll refer out to the other provider. We're kind of like a hub for our clients. So if things are kind of continuing in that normal, natural range, we have lots and lots of tools and resources to kind of nudge things back into normal if we need to. And then if we're unable to with the tools, then we're going to refer to other providers.
Yeah. When Allison had this vision of a center, she wanted it to be a full collective with other providers that we could refer to, because oftentimes, you've given birth, it can be really challenging when you're postpartum and you're acclimating to having a new baby, and someone tells you like, oh, you should probably see a pelvic floor therapist, or you should talk to
I had that. Somebody told me.
And then like, where do I go? Is this person, it can be unnerving as a new mom, and we're in a vulnerable place already. And so all of our providers here are really lovely. The energy of our center when you come in is really nourishing. And we want to make sure that each one of the practitioners that partners with Tourmaline is invested in like the family. So not just like come with, a complaint and then this is your prescription of what you need to do, but like really invested in like how is their life going to improve, and how are they going to be healthy in the community, within their family for forever. So
we put a lot of effort into making sure that our clients get to meet the team prenatally. So they may not need to access any of those services, but they may not need to see the pelvic floor therapist or the psychotherapist, but we make sure that we introduce them, they see their face. hopefully they get to have a conversation so that they can build rapport prenatally. So if they do need on or postpartum, it's a familiar face and part of their community. Because that's what we're doing is we're fostering community. We want people to feel like we're family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I love the mom approach, right? It feels like you're my mom, right? I could just ask you anything, and then you have all the people that I need to know.
Midwifery does talk a lot about, midwifery means with women, and then midwifery is all about mothering the mother. So it's very true. It's a nourishing practice.
Yeah, and so for our local moms who are new to this concept or who are exploring this concept, one of the fears that I have heard very common is, what if something goes wrong in the birthing process? There's this fear of needing that care, and they feel like because of the preconception in society, we feel like we have to be in the hospital. So what would you say to the moms that have this concern?
Yeah, so I think that's a really important question, because you can only birth successfully in the place where you feel safe. So a lot of we do go through this with a lot of our clients that are touring to give them all the information. So we do have lots of medications and safety equipment here. So we have medications to stop hemorrhage, postpartum bleeding. We have IV fluids and antibiotics and tools to help babies breathe. So all of those more common things are here. And then we know that we're 15 minutes away from the closest hospital. So we're also monitoring in a different way, both prenatally and in labor and postpartum as well. But we're looking at lab work with a more critical eye, because we know we're trying to get our clients to the healthiest place that they can possibly be, knowing we're 15 minutes away from those like major emergency tools like an emergency C-section. And then in labor too, we're monitoring baby, we're monitoring mom's vitals. And we always have that mindset of, if we're needing to go to the hospital for any reason, we're going to go. And oftentimes if we're going, it's not a dire emergency in that moment. Typically we're finding signs, maybe that baby might need support or mom might need support after the birth or during labor. So if we're going to the hospital, we're going to be closer to the big emergency tool, right? Emergency C-section, and also continuous monitoring. So to answer the question, basically we're just monitoring in a different way because we know we're in a different setting. So that's how we continue to keep our clients safe. And then also that preventative medicine piece in the prenatal period. So we're looking at our clients' diet, supplements, and making sure that they're really in a healthy zone and not just that we're like above these bare minimums, and anemia is one example I really like to use. We're really critical of if our clients even have mild anemia, we're hitting it hard. We're modifying their diet. We're putting them on a supplement regimen. We can get iron infusions through amazing naturopathic doctor, Dr. Oberg, that we work with, because we want to make sure that we're not at that low point. In the hospital setting, they can be like, oh, well, if she bleeds a lot, we'll just give her a blood transfusion. No big deal. We know that's not ideal for anybody's body, and we know we're far away from that tool. So we're just looking at things from a different perspective to keep our clients safe.
Yeah. Just to add to that, a really important component is that we really believe in a physiological birth, and that's how we're trained. So not intervening, so not using unneeded interventions really cuts down on the rate of something going wrong. And so we try to get people to educate themselves on that point because there's statistics showing that. You don't intervene, normally things go better. So if we're not putting our clients on a timer where they can only labor so long, their water can only be broke for a short period of time. We still have our protocols that we follow, our safety protocols, but because we're offering such individualized care, we are able to provide a different protocol for each client going by their, how the birth is, or how the labor is progressing. So when you're not trying to force them into this little cookie cutter, like we all do, this is how we do things, this birth needs to be like this. That doesn't work because in society, we all can't eat the same food. We can't take the same medications. Emotionally, we're all different. And birth is the exact same way. We need to look at it as a very beautiful ceremony. Like it really is. It's a beautiful ceremony. They're not sick. There is a small percentage of women that we totally know and believe need to give birth in hospital. And we don't even we're not here to convince people that this is the right place for them. We just know it's a safe alternative for women that are looking for this experience. We do want to educate people that midwifery is used all over the world.
Yeah.
Almost every other country utilizes midwifery as the first, first care that a woman will get. Unless there's something going wrong.
Yeah.
An OB will come in. And in America, we don't do that. We have very different statistics. We have the highest maternal death rate in all developed countries. We have a very high postpartum depression rate. And it's just because of a lack of community, lack of individualized care, and unneeded interventions.
Yeah, the safety is, when you're going through birth, it is a reality that there's a mother and baby that we need to keep safe. And when you look at the studies and like the random, even ACOG will say this, which is Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, and that's that if there is the like single most important thing to keep people safe is to have one-on-one care for a family in a friendly, positive environment. And luckily, midwifery care does that. Our clients we see one-on-one. I mean, sometimes during a birth, sometimes they've got 2 or 3 of us that are just here for them throughout the whole birth and postpartum. And so when you have someone that's that connected, not only to your medical information and your lab results and your ultrasounds, but also to your emotional side and your familial history, the outcomes are really good for safety. And then also the midwife is able to really see when there's something that is abnormal. And that's when, like Maral said, we would transfer. And I think there's always a risk for in birth. And like Allison said, the US has like one of the highest mortality rates of developed countries. And so what I often say to people is like, if something does happen, right, which is not what we want, but who's there to support you through that process? Your midwife will be, and we will be. So we'll be there through the whole prenatal period. We'll be there through the birth, and we'll be there through the postpartum, and we'll probably be there through the rest of your life to be able to say like, hey, how are you doing? That was rough. And we're also going to follow up with like trauma-informed care and therapists and pelvic floor and like really try to promote health versus, the obstetrical model sends you to, your 6-week OB visit and your pediatrician and let us know next time you're pregnant, So
there's so much that happens in that window, that 6-week window.
It's just such a different type of care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this whole holistic approach, unlike the typical approach where people see it as a transaction. It's just like giving birth. That's it. Whereas you come from such a holistic approach that the moms can feel safe in and rely on. And now, you've seen so many births, of course. And so what would you say is the definition of a strong mom in this whole birthing process?
That's a big question. So many different things.
I think I would say a strong mom is a mom that knows what she wants and is not fixated on the outcome, but really indulges in the journey and the surrender that is motherhood. I'm going to cry. But because it can be really easy for us to be like, oh, I want it to look like this. I want to breastfeed, or I want to give birth naturally, or I don't want an epidural. But really a mother that can surrender to the process and realize that birth is empowerative and transformative, whether we give birth in hospital or out of hospital with a cesarean, to me shows a lot of strength and just beauty, because that's what it's about. It's and we have clients that will be like, I want to transfer, it's happened, or even clients that are like, birthing and maybe their process isn't what they wanted, but they find empowerment in it anyways. And I think that is strong to me.
being vulnerable is really difficult, and it takes a very strong person to be vulnerable, even to say, I want to transfer, and not feeling guilty, honoring yourself, your true feelings, how you feel safe, you know?
Yeah.
We can't get caught up in our expectations or our plans, and you can't plan birth. You just can't. You can educate yourself, but you have to be vulnerable and let things and have trust. Trusting is also a difficult thing to do.
And that's motherhood. Like, you can't plan any of that, you know?
Nothing can be planned in motherhood. Oh, awesome. And so before we wrap things up, would each of you share some words of wisdom to our local moms?
Oh, I think for me, I just recommend like finding your support people, and that can look really different for everybody. But like, finding people around you that are having the same experiences as you, or have children that are the same age. And sometimes that looks like just calling your local midwife and seeing what activities they have going on. Do they have support groups? I think that's the best way to like grow and feel secure, is to have community around you. No one thrives as an island. I think, every kind of negative feeling and emotion grows if you're isolated. So I think finding community is my most important pearl of wisdom.
Yeah. I have to say mine, especially for first-time parents, is to encourage them to really realize that they're already parents, even though the child has not been born, and to trust their intuition. From my experience being a really young mom, you have doubts. Doesn't matter how old you are, but you have doubts. You don't trust yourself. You're always looking to someone else for an answer. And being a mom and then working with so many parents, you really need to trust your intuition. You do know that child better than anyone else. Even in pregnancy, we try to check in with our clients all the time and ask them what they feel. How are you feeling in labor? If you ever feel something is off, we need to know. Your vitals look fine. We still want to know what you think is going on, because it's so important. And when you have a child, it's the same thing. When you go to a physician, they went to school and they read books and they have experience from working with people, but they don't have the same connection you have to your child. And I wish I would have known that with my first, because I did so many things that I would have done differently. And I feel bad for him, but
he's okay now.
Yeah, he's fine.
Well, he's resilient.
I knew what was going on, and I knew things that would have helped him, but I trusted people because they had more experience. So educating yourself, there's so many tools to educate yourself right now, and not caring, because I know that physicians and even midwives, when people walk in, if they know better than us, it might be hard to take. But if it's a good provider, they're going to listen to you, and pride won't be in the way of hearing what that parent thinks is wrong with their child, and asking, hey, I really have a feeling this is what's going on. Can you check that? And being okay with it. So follow your intuition. You are a parent even before the baby's born, most of the time.
Yeah. My tip, this is Josie, would be to manage expectations and be gentle with yourself. We have so many expectations from society, from ourselves, from media, like from everywhere. And so sometimes it can be really challenging to not have that like mom guilt, or why did this happen? And so I think surrendering to the process that is being a mother, and having compassion with yourself and releasing those expectations is the best thing you can do. And knowing that it's not always going to be pretty and easy, and like that's the beauty of it, right? So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's so amazing. Thank you all, ladies. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your services?
Oh yeah, we're everywhere. So we have our website, tourmalinecollective.com, Instagram, Tourmaline_collective. We post a lot of stuff on our Instagram, like information about, and then our classes, lots of fun stuff on there. And then people can literally call all the time. So we field questions from people that are not our clients every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, our phone number is on the website. It's 858-900-2004. We love hearing from people in our community, whether they're trying to start care or just have basic questions. We're here to support.
Yeah, and we do offer free tours and consultations for anyone. So if someone wants to just check us out or has some questions, they can call and come in and meet with the midwife.
We offer things like miscarriage support too. We have people come in from the community that just don't know where to go. And they've suffered a loss. So that's something we want people to know. We also have a community ultrasound day, the third Wednesday of every month, where people can come in and during COVID, it was really important. You couldn't bring a partner. So we were just inviting families in. So we just continued to do that because it's so popular. Come in, it's really reasonably priced, and we have an amazing team, and the family can come in and see the baby.
Yeah, and we have new family meetups. So kind of like for people to connect postpartum and create community, and we have prenatal yoga and lots of fun
First aid and
classes.
CPR for babies. Yeah.
Sometimes we have self-care days. We've got lots of stuff going on. Yes.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Can I schedule my next tour?
Yeah, come on. Oh, and also we're working to kind of create a docuseries or possibly a documentary to really spread the word of midwifery. So
that's coming soon.
That's coming soon.
Exciting.
We're really, it's a project.
I am so excited about that. Keep me posted. Well, thank you all so much for being with AskMamaAmy. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Amy. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ask Mama Amy. Head over to AskMamaAmy.com for all the show notes and links you heard in today's episode. You'll also get my free legal tool for you to name legal guardians for your children, so that you can leave them with abundant resources to support them and a total peace of mind. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review to tell us why. See you next time, mamas.